What's going on, rail fans? I'm Adam and welcome back to WNYRailVideos. Now, it's not normal that I usually get to adventure outside of milepost 431 at the Buffalo to Pew Amtrak station, but I recently had the opportunity to go to Northeast Pennsylvania for the annual 2019 Night at the Museum event, which is hosted by the Lakeshore Railroad Museum in Northeast. It's an overnight event that involves a lot of rail fanning, hanging out with other rail fans, and overall just a great time, and I decided to share that video with you guys. So without further ado, let's get right into the Night at the Museum at Northeast.
Now, before we went to Northeast, we made a stop at Scott Street here in Hamburg, New York. For those of you who aren't from Buffalo, this stretch of track is home to part of the collection owned by the Buffalo and Western New York Railroad Historical Society. Here you'll find equipment such as locomotives, cabooses, plows, and many other pieces of rolling stock from years past. We're looking at milepost 13 of the Buffalo Southern Shortline Railroad, a section of road formerly used by the Erie back in the days of steam. And speaking of steam, Hamburg is also home to PRR 4483, the last surviving I-1 of the Pennsylvania Railroad. According to trainweb.org, 4483 was built in May of 1923 by the Baldwin Locomotive Works in Eddystone, Pennsylvania for the Pennsylvania Railroad. In February of 1931, it was converted into an I-1SA and went on to serve different divisions and regions of the Keystone State in the 1940s. It was later assigned to the Pennsylvania Railroad Ebenezer, New York yards in the 1950s and was often seen hauling coal drags up the Elmira branch to the coal unloading docks in Sawdust Bay on Lake Ontario, New York. On August 7th, 1957, 4483 was dropped from the Penske's equipment records and we moved around to different locations in Pennsylvania for 25 years until it was picked up by the Western New York Historical Society in 1982. Now, if any of you are in the region of Buffalo, I highly encourage you all to come and check out this spot. There is also a model train shop that was built out of the old Erie Railroad train station right there. They have some really cool stuff there, and I highly encourage all of you to go and check it out. But now that we're done with Hamburg, it's time to move on and take the hour-and-a-half drive to Northeast. So on we went down Interstate I-90, passing through hotspots in New York such as Dunkirk and Westfield, eventually crossing over the PA border and into Northeast. Now, as for rail fanning at the museum in Northeast, it could be considered quite a hotspot. Directly running alongside the museum, you have the CSX Lakeshore subdivision at milepost QD 73, and directly south of that, you have the Norfolk Southern Lake Erie District, milepost 72.1. I believe this to be the milepost distance from Northeast to Buffalo, considering my past experience, but feel free to write in the comments down below if I am wrong about that. Now, as soon as we got to Northeast, it was very apparent that the conditions of the weather were not optimal for rail fanning. However, that was not going to stop this rail fan and many other rail fans from catching some really cool trains and having some fun at the same time. Now, the first train we'll be seeing would be CSX Q008, UPS and intermodal traffic from St. Louis, Illinois for northern New Jersey. If you're wondering why there's a drop in audio here, I believe that there was some water that fell on the microphone of my camera that caused the audio to get muffled. Next train we would see would be another eastbound, CSX Q388, General Manifest from Chicago to Selkirk. One thing that I thought was interesting was on 388's bottom, there was a large cut of almost rusted cars labeled for GNWR and AEX. I'm not entirely sure where these were going, but it seemed like they were all going to the same destination, and I thought it was pretty cool. After this, we would see our first westbound KO61 empty crude oil from southern Pennsylvania for Illinois. Next up, we would have Q262 autoracks from Pottersburg, Ohio to North Bergen, New Jersey. Next up after this, we would see Q263, westbound autoracks this time, from East Brookfield, Massachusetts to O'Bannon, Kentucky. This would be the last train I would catch for the day, and with the next day came the fog, and it brought visibility down to almost half, so you couldn't see trains until they were almost on top of you. And unfortunately, I missed a lot of very interesting trains during the day, including Amtrak 48, the Lakeshore Limited, which is the only Amtrak train that runs through this area, as I was trying to catch up on sleep, as me and my friends slept in the P&S Railroad caboose overnight. Wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, but as soon as I could, I got back out trackside and caught NS 205 container traffic from Buffalo to Chicago. After 205 cleared, I decided to grab my camera and take shots of some of the equipment that the Lakeshore Railroad Museum has, and I gotta say, it is actually a very interesting collection, as they have locomotives, coaches, and a bunch of other things. And during the Night at the Museum event, they actually open up the cabs to the locomotives, so you're allowed to go inside and see the control panels. If anybody is in the northwestern Pennsylvania region, I highly recommend this museum. There's a lot of cool things there, as well as the inside to the museum is very interesting too. As well as check them out on Facebook if you have it, as they post a lot of the events that they have on the museum grounds on Facebook, so you don't have to miss any of the awesome events that they have at this museum. As well as every year during the night at the museum, they have a photo shoot, and the star of the event was this new CSX engine that they had acquired fairly recently. It was a CSX police unit. I'm not entirely sure what that was, but overall people seem to be very interested in it. While I was shooting this footage, I had an unidentified eastbound intermodal sneak up on me. Finally see foreign power in the form of K-141, empty crude oil from Philadelphia to Illinois. last train of the day would be Q020, container traffic from Bedford Park, Illinois to Worcester, Massachusetts. However, I have been told recently that the train was cut back to Syracuse. That is going to do it for Night at the Museum 2019. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more. I'm Adam. I'll see you guys next time on the High Iron.